Is your teenager getting more private, more separate, maybe a little prickly? Are her new behaviors hitting you in a way that feels too big for what's actually happening? Like, maybe you're not just reacting to your 15-year-old, you might actually be reacting to something much more older than her. If this resonates, this episode is for you. My name is Brittany, and I'm a licensed therapist, and I specialize in mother-daughter relationships. I help mothers understand their daughters more, and I help women to heal mother wounds. Let's start by understanding what's supposed to happen during the teenage years, because if you don't know what's normal, you can't tell when your wound is getting activated. Teenagers are supposed to pull away. Kind of. Some do it more than others. But this is developmentally appropriate, and it's necessary for their development. Your teenager is in the process of individuating and becoming her own person separate from you, separate from her parents. That's kind of her job right now. She's got to figure out herself and find out who she is. So what does normal teenage individuation look like? She wants more privacy. She closes her bedroom door more. She's less interested in family time. She doesn't want to tell you every detail about her day or her friendships. She might get vague when you ask questions. You probably know how that sounds. It was fine, Mom. Nothing happened. I don't know. The non-response responses. She'd rather be with her friends than at family dinner. She doesn't want to go on family outings like she used to. And maybe being seen with you in public might be embarrassing for her. Of course, that one's a bit extreme. I know. And teenagers and kids are silly when they start to feel that way. But sometimes it does happen. She's testing boundaries and pushing back. She's questioning your rules. Maybe she argues a little bit more than she used to. She wants to make her own decisions about things like what she wears, how she styles her hair, who she hangs out with, even if you don't agree. She's more emotionally volatile. Her mood swings more often than it used to. She might be happy one minute and then angry the next, kind of quickly. Small things might feel like really big things to her and really big deals that don't really make sense to you. All of this is normal. All of this is pretty healthy, and all of this is kind of supposed to happen. But when you have an unhealed mother wound, this normal development might feel like rejection. Maybe it feels like abandonment, and it can possibly trigger deep fears that have nothing to do with your teenager and everything to do with your mother wound if you experience your own mother's control, emotional unavailability, or criticism. Your teenager's normal distancing hits an old nerve if your mother was emotionally unavailable. Your teenager's need for privacy might feel like rejection. You might take it personally when she doesn't want to share everything with you. If your mother was critical, your teenager's moodiness or pushback might feel like an attack. You might become overly sensitive to any perceived disrespect. The wound makes everything feel bigger and more dangerous than it actually is. So how do you know if you're responding to normal teenage behavior or if your wound is getting triggered? Check the intensity of your emotional reaction. If your 14-year-old says she doesn't want to go to the store with you and you feel mildly disappointed, that's proportional. That doesn't sound too bad. If you feel devastated, rejected, or even angry in a way that seems too big for this situation, that's probably your mother wound. Notice your body's response if you feel tightness in your chest, a knot in your stomach, or a surge of panic when your teenager wants space. Your nervous system might be reacting to something old, not something. So ask yourself, is my response about what's happening right now, or is it about what I'm afraid will happen? If you're catastrophizing, thinking she's pulling away, and eventually she'll want nothing to do with me, that's probably your wound talking. Look at the story you're creating. If your teenager says, I'm going to my room, and you immediately think, she doesn't want to be around me, I'm losing her, I'm a bad mother, you're not responding to what's actually happening. You're probably responding to an old fear. Now, let's talk about what happens when you're mothering a teenager with an unhealed mother wound. What patterns show up? What gets passed down without meaning to pass it down? The first one is over-controlling. This is one of the most common patterns. You become hypervigilant about who she's with, where she's going, what she's doing. You need to know everything. You check her phone, you read her text, you monitor her social media. What this can sound like when you are actually talking to her is, who's going to be there? I need names. Let me see your phone. You're not wearing that. I don't think you should be friends with her. On the surface, this looks protective. Okay, it looks like protective parenting. But underneath, it's often your anxiety, your need to feel in control because you felt so out of control in your own childhood. The problem is the tighter you grip, the more your teenager pulls away to breathe. Now, these examples are nuanced. I'm not telling you to not have standards or to keep your daughter safe or to want to know what she's doing online. You should absolutely be monitoring that. The world is scary. You must protect your daughter. But if you're authoritarian instead of authoritative, she will pick up on that. If she doesn't know that monitoring her social media or reading her text messages is something that you guys are going to do, and it's something you've talked to her about well before it happens, and you just randomly do it because you're mad at her, you don't trust her, or she's not telling you everything the way that you want her to, that's not being authoritative. It's not that questions or statements like this are bad. They inherently are not. They're there to keep your daughter safe. But if you're showing your daughter you don't trust her and you're not working to build trust with her, these statements will backfire. And that's the opposite of what you want. The next example is emotional withdrawal. This is the opposite response, but comes from the same wound. When your teenager pulls away, you pull away too. You shut down emotionally as a form of self-protection. What this might look like, giving her the silent treatment when she doesn't want to spend time with you. Becoming cold or distant when she's moody with you. Withdrawing affection or warmth because she doesn't meet your emotional needs. Making comments like, "Fine, I guess you don't need me anymore." You probably learned this from your own mother. Perhaps when she was hurt, she withdrew. So now when you're hurt by your teenager's normal development, you do the same thing. The next one is taking your teenager's independence. Personally, every step towards independence feels like personal rejection instead of normal developmental milestones. What this might sound like: you never want to spend time with me anymore. You used to tell me everything. Now you don't tell me anything. I guess I'm not good enough for you. You're so distant lately. Did I do something wrong? This puts your teenager in an impossible position. She's trying to grow up, which is her job, but your hurt makes her feel guilty for doing what is normal or what feels normal to her. The next example of something that can be passed down without realizing it is enmeshment. This is when boundaries between you and your teenager are too blurred. You rely on her for emotional support. You make her responsible for your feelings. You treat her more like a friend or a therapist instead of your own daughter. What this might look like is confiding in her about adult problems. Your marriage, your relationship, your finances, your friendships, or any other relationship that you're a part of. Needing her to make you feel better when you're upset, getting hurt when she doesn't want to hear about your day, making her your primary source of emotional support. This recreates the parentification you might have experienced as a child when you had to take care of your mother's emotions. Now, without meaning to, you might be doing the same thing to your daughter. And the last example of something that can be passed down without even realizing it is needing your teenager to make you feel okay. This is when your sense of worth or well-being is too dependent on your teenager's behavior, mood, or closeness to you. This might sound like feeling devastated when she's mad at you, needing reassurance that she still loves you. Your mood matches hers. If she's happy, you're happy. If she's distant, you're devastated or you become distant too. These patterns are not character flaws. They are learned responses from your own wound. This is how you learn to survive your own mother's behavior. And now you're unconsciously repeating it. Recognizing these patterns is the first real step to changing them. You can't change what you can't see. Now, some of you may be listening and thinking like, do these things actually happen? Are these actually happening in mother-daughter relationships where a mom is parenting a teenager? And the answer is simply yes. I've seen most of these, and I've helped moms work through some of these. So they are real. I only put them in as examples because I've seen them happen, and I've worked directly with the mom or sometimes with a teenager alone through a lot of these feelings and a lot of the thoughts and things that come up for them. Who was experiencing this? So here's the irony of this. The mother who is most afraid of her daughter pulling away is often unconsciously doing things that push her further. Let me give you an example. A mother is terrified of losing her teenage daughter, so she becomes controlling, checking her phone, questioning her constantly, not giving her privacy, reading her journal, going through her room when she's at school, because she wants information, because she wants to feel close to her daughter, because she wants to know what's happening in her life. The daughter starts to feel suffocated and pulls away more. The mother panics and tightens her grip. The daughter rebels harder. The mother sees this as evidence as she's losing her daughter, so she tries to control even more or just do more of these kind of negative behaviors. Can you see the loop that starts to happen? The fear of abandonment creates the very abandonment she's afraid of. Or, here's another example. Mother feels rejected when her teenager wants space, so she withdraws emotionally to protect herself. The teenager feels her mother's coldness and thinks, she doesn't care about me, so she stops trying to connect. The mother sees this as proof that her daughter doesn't need her. So she withdraws further. The wound creates the exact dynamic that's trying to be prevented. And the idea that your teenager doesn't need you makes no sense. I've heard this one and it always baffles me a little bit because how could you possibly think your teenager doesn't need you? I want you to know that your teenager always needs you, even if she yells at you that she doesn't. She just needs you in different ways or in new ways. She needs something different or specific from you. You have to ask her what that is. She never stops needing her mom. That's not real, but I've heard many moms say that. I've also read it online so many times, and it really doesn't make sense to me. There's no world where a teenager doesn't need you. She may be trying to teach herself to not need you because maybe you aren't solid or you aren't trustworthy or you kind of waffle back and forth and she doesn't know what she's going to get from you. So maybe she's teaching herself that, but she absolutely needs you. I promise. You have to pay attention to the girl that's in front of you. So what do you do when you do get triggered? How do you handle that? When your teenager says something or does something and you feel this surge of emotion that's way too big for the moment, name it internally before you react externally. Okay, the first step is actually catching it. In the moment when you feel triggered, pause and say to yourself, or just think inside your head, this is my wound, not just my daughter. That doesn't mean your daughter's behavior is okay if it's actually disrespectful or goes against your rules. But if it means you're recognizing that the intensity of what you're feeling is more than just what's happening right now between the two of you, then you're on step 2, slowing down your reactions. Think, my daughter just told me she doesn't want to go run errands with me. I feel devastated. That's too big of a feeling for this situation. Feeling sad or disappointed, sure. Devastated because she'd rather stay home in her room than go run errands with you, too big. So make sure you remind yourself that this is your abandonment wound talking. I'm not just devastated about my teenager not wanting to come with me. I might be devastated because it feels more like rejection. Just naming it creates a tiny bit of space between the wound and your response. Create space between the trigger and your response that your daughter actually hears. This can be hard and it's going to take practice, but one of the most important skills that you can develop when you do feel triggered. Don't respond immediately. Here's what you can do instead. Take a few deep breaths, maybe count them. Breathe in for 4, hold for 4, breathe out for 4. That's called box breathing. This signals to your nervous system that you're not actually in any kind of danger. Maybe you need to leave the room, depending on what's happening. Tell your daughter you need a minute. Go to the bathroom, go outside, go to your bedroom. Give yourself a few minutes to regulate before you respond. Feel your feet on the floor, sit on your bed, whatever it is. Notice the physical sensations of your feet making contact with the ground or your body actually sitting down on the bed, or notice what your clothes feel like on your skin, okay? This brings you back to the present moment. Instead of being lost in the old wound, ask yourself, what does my teenager actually need from me right now? Not what does my wound need, but what does she need? Usually, she needs you to stay calm, to respect her autonomy, to not take her mood or her need for space personally. Put your hand on your heart and remind yourself, she's supposed to pull away a little bit. This is healthy. This is not about me. I can handle this. This won't be perfect. You won't always catch it in time. But even catching it 30% of the time is better than 0% of the time. Repair when you get it wrong, because you will get it wrong. We all do. There's no perfect mom on the planet. Okay? Sometimes you'll snap at her when you didn't mean to. You'll say something controlling or guilt-inducing. You'll withdraw when you should have stayed present. You are human. What matters is that you come back and repair. And here's what repair can sound like. Earlier, when you said you didn't want to come to dinner with us, I got really upset. That wasn't fair to you. You're allowed to want alone time. I'm working on not taking that personally. Or, I was cold to you this morning after our argument last night, and that wasn't okay. You're upset with me, and that's allowed. I shouldn't have withdrawn like that. Or, I overreacted when you didn't want to tell me about your day. You don't owe me all your thoughts and feelings. I'm sorry I made you feel guilty about that. Notice what these repairs have in common. They take responsibility without over-explaining or making excuses. They name the behavior that was hurtful. They validate your teenager's experience, and they don't ask your teenager to help make you feel better about messing up. Repair teaches your daughter that relationship ruptures can be fixed, that adults can take accountability, that she doesn't have to be perfect, and neither do you. I want you to know that doing this now, while your daughter is a teenager, is so important. The relationship you build during the teenage years sets the example for the adult relationship that you'll have later. How you handle her individuation now directly impacts whether she'll be close to you when she's 25, 35, even 45. If you can let her pull away without punishing her for it, she'll learn that she can have her own life and still have you. She'll learn that she can figure some things out and figure out who she needs to be, and maybe make a few mistakes along the way here and there because you are there to support her, because she can trust that you are a reliable person for her to always come back to. If you can respect her privacy, age appropriately, of course, without making her feel guilty, she'll learn that boundaries are safe with you. If you can stay connected even when she's moody or distant, she'll learn that your love isn't conditional on her meeting your emotional needs. But if she has to fight for every inch of independence, if she learns that having her own thoughts means that you'll be hurt, if she feels responsible for your emotions during these years, she'll either stay enmeshed with you out of guilt, or she may run as far away as she can when she finally gets the chance. Both of those are extreme examples. I know it's probably not going to happen that way, one extreme or the other. The picture I'm trying to paint is that she starts to not trust you and she starts to pull away from you. That's what you don't want to happen. The template that you create now matters for the rest of her life. The mother who does her own work now changes what her daughter inherits. This is a cycle-breaking moment. Your daughter is watching how you handle your emotions and how you handle hers too. She's learning from what it means to be a woman, what it means to be a mother, what relationships are supposed to look like. If you can do the hard work of recognizing your triggers, regulating your emotions, repairing what you mess up, you might be teaching her skills your mother never taught you. You're showing her that it's possible to have big feelings and not be controlled by them. You're showing her that people can take accountability. You are showing her that relationships can be healthy even when they're hard. This is how generational patterns change, not through perfection, but through awareness and willingness to do it differently and to repair when you do mess up along the way. You don't have to have it all figured out. You don't have to have healed your entire mother wound before you can be a good mother to your teenager. I'm not even sure that's possible to heal your entire mother wound because our relationships with our moms are one of the most important relationships that we have. And so any rupture that never gets repaired in that is probably going to always hurt. But you get what I mean. You don't even need to not ever get triggered. Like, you don't have to respond perfectly every time. You don't have to be a perfect mother. Perfect moms don't exist. You just have to be able to look at it, to notice where your wound is showing up, to take responsibility when you get it wrong, and to keep trying to do better. Your daughter needs a mother who's willing to grow with her, who can admit when she's wrong, who keeps showing up even if she's having her own emotional experience. Like, she knows that you are trustworthy and you're going to be there. If you are mothering a teenager while carrying an unhealed mother wound, I see you. You're trying to show up for your daughter while also dealing with your own pain and triggers. Your teenager's pulling away is not evidence that you're failing. It's evidence that she's developing exactly as she should. If you want a teenager that's a well-adjusted adult, you have to let her try while she's still in your house. This is her time to mess up and have you right there to help her fix it. This is the time to give her some individuation, to give her some privacy, to give her some room to try and make mistakes, because you can help fix them. She's still in your home. Your job is not to prevent her from individuating. It's to let her do it while staying connected, while staying regulated, while staying present. And when you mess up, because you will, and so will she, y'all are both human, you repair with her. You come back. You try again. You teach her what repair actually looks like. That's what breaks the cycle. Not perfection, but persistent willingness to do it differently than it was done to you or for you. In May, I'm hosting a free live training called The Mother-Daughter Relationship Decoded. It's for daughters and for mothers. It'll be virtual. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for listening, and I hope that you got something out of this episode. You're doing great work. All of it matters, and I'm glad that you're here. Take good care of yourself, and I will see you in the next one.